Hey all, welcome to Sports Wire. It's been a very long time that we've done a YouTube show. Of course, I've been active on Twitter, but then not on YouTube. It is okay. I'm sharing just myself. Sorry about that. Yeah, what I was trying to say was it's been a long time that we've come to YouTube platform, and this is one of those shows where we discuss Chelsea, all things Chelsea, from Chelsea transfer news to Chelsea budget, the org structure, how Chelsea is going to look in the future, the Todd Boehly takeover, Roman Abramovich situation, the lawsuit that Roman Abramovich apparently had filed against the European Union after the Chelsea sale got over. So these things is what we will be discussing today. It is, of course, exciting for me to talk to you guys once more. If you guys are active in Twitter or any other social media platform, um, please feel free to share this across multiple platforms, and that will just help us get a lot more people in. But without any further ado, we've got a lot of information to talk about, starting from this Chelsea takeover. Yes, of course, this is one of the hot topics that we've recently, come across: the takeover of Chelsea Football Club by Todd Boehly and Co. So, who is this Co? What are we talking about? This consortium structure, yeah. So it's going to be a three-member consortium. One is going to be Todd Boehly, who's going to be the one of the primary sponsors, of course. And you also have a Swiss businessman and a Tottenham fan, right? Though, of course, we're not going to go into the details. What is a Tottenham fan doing for a Chelsea football club? No, we're not going to do that now. Tebago, welcome to the channel. It's always lovely to have you. If you want to hop in, have your say as well. Uh, I'd love to have you guys on the panel. The link is in the chat window, guys. So you can just hop in and join me in the discussion. Um, Water Games TV says, I'm good. Looking forward to the show. Great topic. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. This is the first time I'm probably seeing Water Games here, but it's lovely to have you here in the stream. And we've got Tobago joining us all the way from Africa, I believe. Tobago, how are you? Can you hear me loud and clear?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Absolutely fine, buddy. How are things for you? What do you first of all think about this Chelsea takeover now?
To be honest, I'm finally happy. Everything is over. We need to move on. No more sanctions. It's all about rebuilding the club now.
Now, absolutely, it definitely is about rebuilding the club now. But where do we start? Do you think? Where should we start to do this rebuild?
To be honest, we need to start in the base, like in defense, and then adding a one DM. Also, in the forward, if you're going to sell one of our forwards, we need to replace them.
That makes sense. But do you think the right place to start here would be to just go ahead and then start buying players or selling players, or should we first of all organize the Chelsea leadership group? Because what I think right now, and I look at things from a different perspective. You, of course, know that not from a sporting side. I look at things from a finance side, and I'm from the finance background. So when I see Chelsea, the acquisition is a bit delayed acquisition. Yeah, let's be honest about it. It was supposed to happen in the month of March, and it got delayed, and it's right now happening. It happened actually, to be accurate, on May 30th, 2022, which is very close to the transfer window. So one thing that we all can accept is that though this acquisition is a happy news for Chelsea fans, we would have loved it if it had happened a lot more earlier. For different reasons, it was not possible. But the first thing that I would probably expect us to do, or the new ownership group to do, is to try and evaluate the leadership group that we have currently. When I talk about the leadership group, of course, I'm talking about the board of directors. And the board of directors is something that Chelsea right now, the way that we operate, it's a single person owned club, right? Chelsea was owned by Roman Abramovich, and all of them in the board right now, were representatives, some way or the other, of Roman Abramovich, which might not be the situation going forward because it's going to be a consortium sort of a structure, which means it's going to be owned by three people. Chelsea right now is owned by three people at different shares, along with Clear Lake Capital, of course. What in essence it tells you is that this representation in terms of board is going to be two-person per board. Yeah, maybe we should take it that way, right? Two people. Let's say Todd Bowley is going to have two. Um, Hansi Wisk is going to be having another two, and the Tottenham guy is going to be having another two, which makes six members to be part of that board. It's not going to be like Marina and Bruce Buck, David Bernard. I don't think so. The structure is going to be like that. Though some of these members are probably looked at retaining in the near future, I'm not so sure who are they going to be representing and how does this equation really get translated into. So the first thing that I am looking forward is to understand how Chelsea is going to be restructured in terms of an organization level, right, at the leadership. And then you've got the scouting system that you probably need to be looking at. But is the scouting um, team really my second focus? Not so much. My second focus after the organization structure would be to look at, let's say, Chelsea as an entity and Chelsea as a community. So, how much are the community stuff going to be in place? So that is something that I'd be focusing on, and probably Todd Bowley as well is going to be focusing on, because one thing that is very important is to have the leadership group and have the Chelsea, as a club represent in the community. So how are we going to do that is something that we have to that I would be looking forward to. And the third thing that I'd be looking forward to would be on the sponsorship side, right? Because of course when you take one particular entity, there is a revenue structure. That is a revenue is basically an income, right? So there is the revenue side of it, and there is an expenditure side of it. So what are we talking in terms of player sales, in terms of player acquisitions? All of this is more around the expenditure side of things. But when you look at the other side of Chelsea, there is this revenue side, which of course needs some tweaking. The sponsors, there were some sponsors who pulled out during the acquisition bid or during the takeover bid. Right from three Hyundai and these companies have moved out of Chelsea right now, which means Chelsea is in need of a new sponsor. And how good a deal can be stricken by this ownership is something that I'd be excited to look at. The first news that we got around the sponsorship deal was, of course, by Whalefin. Whalefin is a digital NBFC, or a digital payment currency bank. So these guys have agreed to sponsor Chelsea Football Club for the sleeves, right? Just writing Whalefin on the sleeves. And we've got a 40 million deal out of it, I believe. And that deal is second to none, basically. What I'm trying to say is the only Premier League club that has made this sort of a deal in terms of monetization is Manchester United with Kohler. Kohler is their shirt sleeve sponsor, right? So that's a great sign, first of all, in terms of the business. And what MCIG says here really is a great point. Build a new stadium. Um, but again, MCIG, I might differ a bit here, because what I was actually trying to communicate is in terms of priorities. What should Todd Bowley be looking at in terms of priorities in the next 1 or 2 months? So my first priority would to realign your organization, which is Chelsea in this case. The second priority would, of course, to be reaching out to the community, and the third priority would be to get your sponsorship deals signed off properly. And the fourth priority would be, of course, the transfer bit, which is the player bit. The reason why I brought this as the fourth, priority here is because the transfer window is, of course, open, and we have a very limited period before which we should be making those moves in terms of the transfer. And also, when you do this first bit, which is to get your organization restructure completed, that new organization restructured employees or the leadership group will have a bit of time to actually focus on the player acquisition bit before you go ahead and do the rest of the other two activities, which is to interact with the communities and finish off your sponsorship deals. Right, when you finish off your sponsorship deals and when you finish off reaching out to the community, your leadership group, which you decided the first thing that you got into the club and you decided the leadership group, they're going to be ready with a plan for the acquisition of the players. And that is exactly what I'd probably look at Chelsea in the next 2 3 months. I think that would be the roadmap that I'm looking at Chelsea as a football club. But of course, building a new stadium is definitely a priority for the new owners. How and when are they going to be doing that? And um, there is a lot of speculations around the real estate proprietor who's also part of this consortium, who might help us to do that bit in terms of building a new stadium. Will of course be a very exciting prospect, but when and how it is going to be happening is something that we have to wait and watch, because there is always a complication around the Chelsea Pitch Owners Association and Chelsea Football Club. So that probably sums up my priorities for Chelsea Football Club in the next 2 3 months. Over to you, Tobacco, on this particular question. Building a new stadium. Do you think building a new stadium would be absolutely critical for the success of this club? And if at all it is going to be this key factor, do you think starting to build it this year should be a priority, or can it still take a step back?
To be honest, building a new stadium is a priority because, like as I said, under Roman Abramovich, it's all about splashing money left and right, and then now we need a structure. That's what I was saying. Like structure is important. We need to build a base. We need to build a stadium. Also, make our sort of a merchandise shop bigger. We need a restaurant. We need bars so that we can generate more money into our club. So that at the end of the season we can go to the calculation and say, look, this season we made 20 million pounds or 30 million pounds, whatever. So building a stadium is good so that we can be a self-sustaining club. No need to splash money left and right like we used to under Roman Abramovich. I know he had a desire of building a new stadium for us. Unfortunately, due to the visas and stuff, he stopped there. But going forward, to be honest, to be a well-run club, we need a bigger stadium, a bigger revenue, so that our club can be organized. And also, in our board, we need football people. We don't. I know, like Marina, yes, she had a clue there and there. She's good on balancing the books, but if she remains, we need someone who's know football better than her, so that he or she can advise Marina, that we need to do this and this and this. But her on her own, making a lot of decisions, sometimes as fans, we see them as wrong. Sometimes she do a good work, and then we don't applaud her for that because like we're looking at the negative things. So having a football people in the board is a way forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Two important priorities that were actually focused by Tobago right now. One being having people who knows football to be in the board, which should be a principal focus. I hear you. I think that is absolutely required as well. And the second one is getting a new stadium built, which is again resonating to what MCIG as well mentioned in the comment section. I think what MCIG says here tells a lot about Todd Bowley here as well. He says when Bowley first took over the Dodgers, his first move was to spin off a local broadcast market monopoly for like $25 million. That's sorry, $25 billion. That's huge money, right? Let's be honest, $25 billion is huge money, and the way that he spun off local broadcast to increase the positivity around the club, which is Dodgers in that case, is still a genius move. So these things are absolutely critical for the success of the club, and sometimes you as a fan can just hope and pray to God that what, our owners should be doing the right thing. And I think Todd Bowley is one such person who you can expect these things from. And MCIG also has another point. Um, regarding the stadium. He says we don't need a bigger stadium right away. It could wait, but I think Boli is looking to make a big move to make money, such as selling the old bridge to real estate developers or something similar. Again, when we talk about this, how critical or how important it is for us to build a new stadium is one part of it, and how easy is that going to be is another part of it. The way that I see it, it's not going to be as easy as what we would want to. It's not going to be like as simple as that for the other clubs, let's say Manchester United or Manchester City per se, because those clubs have a different way of operations. And Chelsea, of course, is owned by the Chelsea Pitch Owners Association. The stadium, the Stamford Bridge Stadium, at least, is owned by the Chelsea Pitch Owners Association. What it also does is means that the term Chelsea or the name Chelsea cannot be or is basically like a proprietorship of these Chelsea Pitch Owners Association, which means that we cannot be using Chelsea name if you are moving out of Chelsea Pitch Owners Association. That gives them a lot of control. Maybe we still can do things like AFC Chelsea or something like that, right? We still can tweak the name, but then it won't be the original Chelsea, the OG Chelsea. But that's the kind of power Chelsea Pitch Owners Association enjoy, and maybe that's something that we have to live with. Selling the old bridge to the real estate developers or something similar, I think that would be the blocker. Selling it wouldn't be easy because with the bridge you also lose the name Chelsea. I think that is what would prevent Todd Bowley from making that sort of a decision. Um, Having said that, building a new stadium, of course, is important. Now, coming to the main part, or the reason why most people are here in today for the stream is, of course, the Chelsea transfer plan. Chelsea transfer plan. We usually do our business in silence. That's at least the Roman way of doing things. Is that going to be the same with Todd Bowley, or is it going to be any different? Tobacco.
To be honest, as I done my research about Todd Bowley is all about bringing the best players for that particular structure. So I think under Todd Bowley will buy players smartly, having for example, what should I say, like a player that will have a good future for us, for like have a plan for that player. For example, that player can fit into our system for like 3 to 4 years in the future. So I think under football, we are going to buy players smartly, use money wisely, and scout talent under football. Also use the academy.
I'm sorry, I was speaking on mute. Yeah, that's true. Having the academy players in as well is absolutely critical for the success of Chelsea Football Club, because Chelsea predominantly has a very broader squad. The way that we have been historically operating to offset the value that we generate through the smaller stadium, because Chelsea, let's be honest, Chelsea's stadium capacity is just 35,000, which is far less when compared to the other top teams. So the way that they offset that value is by selling players or putting players on the loan, right? And that's the reason why we have so much players on loan compared to a Manchester United, who have, I guess, two players on loan the last season. Yeah, for them the loan players are very less, but Chelsea, it is on a higher level. From outside, if we look at it, we might think, oh my God, why do we have such a broad squad and we invest so much money just to get players on loan? What is even the use of doing so? But actually, if you look at the account statement, what it essentially does is that brings in a good amount of revenue to offset the loss that we have through having a smaller stadium. So that's pretty much the reason. That's pretty much the reason why we do that. We've got people, MCIG, big up MCIG, of course. Bobby as well is here. Bobby, feel free to hop in. The stream link is always open for you, buddy. These are all people I really love and respect. Though their takes are absolutely honest, brutal, and sometimes they have a lot of insider information about Chelsea Football Club because they live in UK, Bobby here, and Tobago, of course, is another enthusiast who's been very supportive of the channel. So a shout out to Tobago as well. Varna here says, big up, guys. I agree on using the academy team, but our youth player have hit a wall. The Gallagher's batch are the last good season between Chelsea, two finished above relegation zone in Premier League Two. Yeah, that is a news. Between Chelsea two finished above the relegation zone in the Premier League Two. I think I should go back to Tobago on this particular sentence from Varna. He says the last best batch to arrive at Chelsea, on the best level was probably the batch of Gallagher, Mount, Declan Rice, and Gallagher. Mm, there is no one else. Do you agree to that statement, or do you think we are still capable of producing the top talent?
To be honest, we still have a capability to produce the best talent. If you can watch our academy players like are performing bad. Last summer we did a lot of mistakes because we sold a lot of our academy players at the same time. We end up being relegated. So I think going forward we need a structure. That's what we always say. We need a structure so that we can plan ahead, so that we can avoid the same mistakes we did in our academy. Because like a lot of players were on loan, some were sold, and then we almost affected our under 23 players. So I think going forward we need a proper plan, but we are still capable of producing good players.
All right. Uh, yes, we of course are capable of producing that top talents, but what is that which is stopping us in the last few years is something a bit of a question mark. Is the top talents being attracted to the Liverpools and Manchester Cities of the Premier League? Does Chelsea not excite them anymore? You cannot still argue that we still, you know, we of course lost that a few days back, but then we were the champions of Europe. So in terms of having that credibility, I think Chelsea still enjoys that sort of a positive vibe and the credibility in terms of the younger players giving chances to them, because we've seen Mason Mount come through ranks, we've seen Conor Gallagher, Reece James, and plenty of other players coming through the ranks. But there is a bit of a challenge when they make it to the top, don't they? That challenge is always existent. We still call people like Conor Gallagher potentials, Mason Mount potentials, Reece James, of course. These guys have huge potentials. We value their potential, but I think Chelsea have had trouble in the previous year to mix and match the right amount of youth and the seniors in the team. That's where I think Chelsea team is struggling a bit as well, because when you don't have enough seniors to mentor these junior players, it becomes completely difficult, because we were reliant on Lukaku to provide that sort of a seniority, that sort of a experience up top. But then that did not happen the previous year. As a result, you could see in bigger matches we were struggling with a very nascent attack of Christian Pulisic, uh, Timo Werner, maybe here and there Hakim Ziyech. But then Mason Mount and Kai Havertz. That attack was very fragile, not because they don't have the capability or potential, but they still are players who are looked at in terms of potential. They're not players who are completely molded, who are ready to be at that level. They need some backup. They need some experience to guide them through. That is what is something that Chelsea is right now missing. But when we keep pushing the youth players through the rank, even now, it will only add to the worries for us, is what I think personally. It doesn't mean that I don't support the youth system right now. Youth system, of course, is one of the best systems that Chelsea has. The Cobham system is, of course, one of the most important system for Chelsea. A lot of players have come through that ranks, but right now it's very important that we find that balance. Will we be able to find that balance is something that is a bit of a question mark. We do have to get that sort of a senior players in and make use of the talents that we have brought up. MCIG says we loaned out Tammy for Lukaku. Yeah, looking back at that was a very huge mistake, loaning out Tammy Abraham for Lukaku. But again, Tammy is scoring so much of goals for AS Roma. Lukaku was still doing that in Serie A. Does it mean Serie A doesn't have the quality anymore, or do you think, you know what, Tammy should have probably stayed here for another year? He would have become a brilliant talent. I'm not sure, really, to be honest with you. The Serie A is not something that I would have to the highest standard at this point in time, because we've seen what Lukaku was capable of doing in Serie A with Inter Milan, and we saw how bad he starts to perform here. It's not that he doesn't have the capability to do it. I think he has a mentality issue as well. Varna says, and we also saw the youth system as a way of making money. Example, Tomore, Abraham, Gehi, Lamptey, Livramento, eventually, hopefully not Broja. Yeah, that's a very good shout. Not Broja, definitely. Guys like Broja want first team football too. Exactly. And you get those first team footballs with Southamptons and Newcastles of the world, and you don't get that with Chelsea. Of course, it's not something that is written for them, because there obviously will be that sort of a competition and contention for those spots. But one thing that you can still tell from whatever you witness with these young talents is that this potential is something that we can build upon. But is Chelsea the right place to build that? Maybe not so much. Maybe they have to go out on loans to get it sorted. And that's the reason why loans play a very huge or crucial role in the development of a player. We saw the difference between Callum Hudson-Odoi, who refused to go on a loan or who did not go on a loan, to players like Mason Mount and Reece James, who went on a loan and came back a lot more stronger. Though their loans were still with championship sides who are, playing there is even more difficult in terms of the timelines. I still think that loan would have helped Callum Hudson-Odoi settle in with Chelsea squad even more better. Declared is in the house. Big up, VJ says Declared. Varna says we sold Tammy for 50 or 60, 50 to 60. I think it was in the range of 40s, not even 50s. I might have to check once, but I think it was somewhere around the 35 to 40 mark. Jonathan David in for Lukaku. That's a good shout. Jonathan David, of course, is a very good talent. But in for Lukaku, mm, I'm still not so convinced that Lukaku is going to leave for the season. Though the news coming out is right at this point in time, if we still analyze it, maybe a lot of people are saying that Lukaku will leave. We're getting news from even Syria outlets reporting that maybe Lukaku is agreeing to a 7.5 million salary bracket to join Inter Milan. That's a sad news, guys. I'm telling you, that's a very sad news. If he's ready to join Inter Milan on a 7.5 million euros per year as his wages, that equates to closely what, around 112k a year. Sorry, a week, or maybe around somewhere around 120k a week. That's that's just sad. Someone who's agreeing to get into a team for 120k, we've been retaining him for one entire season on a 325k a week. That just shows you the kind of pathetic business that we've done with Lukaku. Not to say that even at one point in time, I thought, okay, fine, Lukaku might be a very good suitor for Chelsea, but the way that he has agreed to represent Inter Milan by taking this sort of a wage cut really tells you how unhappy he is with Thomas Tuchel and Chelsea Football Club. Is it the problem of the player? Is it the problem of the football club? Or is it the problem with the manager? I'm not so sure about it. But either way, it's not helping Chelsea. Declan says, big up Bobby. Wave VJ, Wave, I guess it's an icon or something. By Lukaku. Yeah, I think Declan would be the first person to wave off Lukaku. What about Marshall? I really rate Marshall. Actually, to be honest with you, I do rate Marshall. Anthony Marshall is someone who's always been on my radar, because one thing is pretty much I follow Manchester United a lot, owing to the fact that my brother is a Manchester United fan. So I have to sit through those games even if I don't want to, just because he is a Manchester United fan. So I do follow Manchester United. I've been following them for a long time now. I think Anthony Marshall has a very good potential. Again, talking about potential for Anthony Marshall at this age is not the right thing, but I still think he is a very good shout for Chelsea Football Club. But I think that would be a bit more. I think there is a bit of a risk factor associated with having someone like Marshall in the squad, mm, with his injury records and also his playing style. And I think there needs to be a bit of a system support for Anthony Marshall as well. Those would be my constraint in going for someone like Anthony Marshall. We've been talking about, or at least at Twitter, Chelsea Twitter has been talking about Dembele a lot. I'd really love to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about getting Dembele back in the team? I did, of course, do my research back when this whole Dembele saga started in the winter transfer window. Um, Between Pulisic and Dembele, I still thought Dembele was a bit better, but then edging past Pulisic in terms of the injury record. So that would be my primary concern with having someone like Dembele represent Chelsea. But would that be a stopping factor, of course, in making this deal happen? Maybe not, because he's still got a huge potential. Thomas Tuchel knows how to utilize Dembele, and I believe he can get the best out of the player. Hope, if at all, he stays fit. And how well can he adapt to the Premier League? That's something that I'm still a bit skeptical about. Declan says he did the same for when he was at Manchester United. Yeah, exactly. Manchester United, he had that bit of an issue as well. And MCIG, so Tuchel's pull might get us Dembele services. Exactly, his pull might get us Dembele, but how far Dembele is going to be useful for us, I'm really not so sure about that. That's the reason why sometimes. Let me put it this way, right? We always say we should support Thomas Tuchel. But at the same time, we also complain about one manager being the reason for having so many players brought in that one window who are not able to be adaptable to another system. We talk about the likes of Bakayoko, Drinkwater. These guys were brought into Chelsea squad not because Chelsea were very weak at that time. It was because that manager wanted these players in the squad, right? And what happened eventually when that manager left, we were not able to utilize these players in the squad. What and that is when you realize, okay, fine, you've actually taken up your squad based on the manager that you have, and you don't eventually give the manager a long-term contract either, right? So it's basically both negatives. You get players for one particular manager, which is a negative in itself. And also, on the other hand, you don't give the manager a long-term rope also, which is another negative. So when the manager leaves, eventually you'll have so many players in your bench who you do not know how to utilize, because the new manager, of course, is not going to be preferring these players, and he will want a new set of a new batch of players who he will have to prefer, and that will go on. Don't get me wrong, that will go on. We'll still go for the likes of Dembele, like what we are doing right now for Thomas Tuchel. We might even go for Neymar if situation permits, and we'll get these players. And once he comes in, or these players comes in, maybe there will be one good season, or maybe one random season. It might be good or bad with Thomas Tuchel, and God forbid. But if Thomas Tuchel is being sacked, I'm not so sure if the new incoming manager would find use for Dembele and you know whoever else he wants to bring into the squad, maybe Hakimi, right? Those are the constraints that we have right now. So when we say we should support Thomas Tuchel at any cost, I think we should make those sentences very clear, in a way that we should be supporting Thomas Tuchel for a reasonable ask in terms of players. We are looking at players who can suit multiple systems, who can be adaptable according to systems, according to managers, not players who are very specific to one particular player manager and one particular individual, because that is exactly why you end up with so many players who cannot be utilized in our team. Declan says, what about this one, Vijay? Would you rather have Werner or Lingard? With the wages Werner is on right now, 270K a week, I'd prefer Lingard any day. Dembele is in the pocket already. Wow, that's a statement. Is it because I guess it was Grim who said Dembele is going to be signed in the last minute of the transfer window? Apparently, she predicts a lot of this transfer saga, and she gets most of them right, is what I've heard. But if that is true, and if she says Dembele is going to be a Chelsea player next season, um, though I'm not really a fan of the Dembele business for Chelsea. I'll still be excited because it's one of the top players coming into the Chelsea Football Club, and I'm still going to be supporting him either way. Dickler says, Vijay, that's why you give managers more time and give him a chance to build the team in a way he sees fit. There is a higher ceiling in that risk. If Tuchel did leave, you replace him with someone similar. Yeah, that's another shout, right? I mean, you don't replace a possession-based manager with a counter-attacking manager immediately. It doesn't work that way, right? And Chelsea has been doing this sort of a mistake again and again and again. Maybe this resonates again back with the point that Tobacco was talking about, the lack of actually football players or maybe football relevant people in the board that makes them take these sort of rash decisions, because these rash decisions come because there is, I wouldn't even call them rash decisions. These decisions come out because the board doesn't have enough football people representing the footballing side of things. There are a lot of people representing the financial side of things. Like, let's say now these guys have Eric Ten Hag, Manchester United, and they earlier had Ralph Rangnick. I'm still trying to figure out how Ten Hag and Ralph Rangnick play in a system which is similar to both of them. Of course, they have different ways, and I'm still finding very hard to believe this was immediately the manager that they had to prefer. The same thing happens with Chelsea Football Club as well. We bring in managers based on their availability of the managers and whoever is available in the market and who's ready to come in and who's ready to spend or who's ready to listen to the board. If this is the way that we're going to be operating, the way that we were doing back in the Roman era, don't get me wrong, Roman era was one of the most beautiful times of Chelsea Football Club, and I am lucky to be alive in a Roman era. But of course, these are things that we did not get right in terms of the managers being replaced with, a whole new dimension of another manager. I think Dickler called it out perfectly when he says managers need to be replaced. If even if they are going to be replaced, they have to be replaced with someone similar. First of all, don't replace your managers for a bit of time, right? Try giving a manager 3-year contract or 4-year contract. Yeah, you're going to be getting something wrong. If Arteta can do things, if he's given 4 years contract and if he can bring the team to fifth place, I'm pretty sure people like Thomas Tuchel, if given a long-term contract, can do a lot more with this club and the way that it operates. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys are in agreement with that. If Arteta can do that, I'm pretty sure Thomas Tuchel can do that as well, and maybe more than that. So give him that time. That is something that we really missed out back in the Roman era. I hope this new transfer or this new Todd Bowley era allows the managers to cherish and to actually build a team, and maybe not have this player power in and around like Manchester United. These are certain things that I think Todd Bowley and group needs to be very cautious about, because this can lead to the team being completely dismantled and completely out of focus. MCIG says, I want Pogba and midfielders. The only problem that I would have with Pogba, not the only problem, couple of issues that I'd have with Pogba is that his availability for the matches. Apparently, he isn't a bit of a regular when it comes to Manchester United games. Historically speaking, he had issues with discipline, being present for the training, and also his wages is apparently very huge. So these are the issues that I would have with having someone like Pogba in the team, and having Pogba also opens up another debate. Do we really need that sort of a positional player? I think I'd go someone. I'd go for someone if it is a midfielder, more defensive minded than someone like Pogba. But Dickler says when you try avoiding building around the player manager, then what you have now is a mix of players that suit different, yeah, that's a different style and different and a bigger mess. I don't want to go back to the sacking managers every 2 years. Exactly. This is one thing that I really wish Todd Bowley doesn't do for Chelsea Football Club. Don't sack Thomas Tuchel. Not just Thomas Tuchel. If you want another manager, just put in another manager, but try to give him a longer rope than what Chelsea was historically giving. But is that Todd Bowley's issue or is that the board's issue? Because now we're talking two different levels, right? Sometimes people don't understand that, and a lot of times I have to explain in Twitter, whenever I go to spaces, that people always relate a sacking of a manager directly to Roman Abramovich. Let me tell you one thing. What Roman looks at is the numbers, is the success of the club. He doesn't make decisions like change of managers. He probably looks at an approval for those changes managers, but then he is not someone who is sitting there and making those decisions. It's more of the board trying to analyze the performance of the manager over a period of time and then making sure that that decisions go through. And if it have to be approved by someone like um, Roman Abramovich, yes, then it goes for the approval. But the owners do not get involved in these sort of decisions. So if that is the case, does it does it become more important for us to actually do the revamp of our organization that is Chelsea, and then go for the market, then go for player acquisition, selling players, and all this stuff? Because I think that is where you have to start. Get your leadership group sorted, right? When your leadership group is sorted, the next things automatically fall in place. It's a top down approach. You get the top sorted, automatically the bottom will get sorted, on its own. You don't have to put so much of effort, but then you start with the bottom. Probably the bottom up approach is not something. It might work in IT industry, but it doesn't work in, of course, a strategy business. So that's something that Todd Bowley should probably be considering. Eric Blue is in the house. Eric Blue, thanks for joining in, buddy. Always pleasure to have you in. Don't think it's about attacking football or defensive football anymore. It's more like modern football versus old school football. Exactly. I was talking about this particular term, modern football, and old school football, when I was talking about the strikers situation at Chelsea perspective today in the evening. Um, it's not anymore Andy Carroll sort of a striker, right? That's not the requirement anymore. You stand there, you wait for the ball to be delivered into the box, and then you finish it off with your head or finish it off with your legs. That's exactly what Andy Carroll does. You're 6 feet tall, just hold up the defender, hold up the play, and then wait for the crosses to come in, finish it off. Yeah? I don't think so. The Andy Carroll sort of striker is what people are looking at, or the managers are preferring at this point in time. Now they want the strikers to be more versatile. They want the strikers to be combining with the midfielders with and contributing sometimes to the defensive side of things. If the striker wants to come defend deep, or combine with the wingers with some one twos, with some tiki takas and those things on the attack, play attacking patterns and styles. This is something that has become the expectation of a striker in this modern footballing era. And absolutely, what Varna says makes absolute sense. Modern football is so different, and the expectation is very dynamic, and there is a lot of things that the players have to think and adapt to than the old style of football, where if you do this, if you can lob the ball, if you can find the player in the attacking positions from the defensive side of pitch, and if you can do a bit of defending, you automatically become a DM. No, that's not what a DM's expectation is anymore. DM's expectation has become now like someone like Declan Rice. When we talk about Declan Rice, I see people talking about the number of goals that he scored, which we wouldn't have even talked about during the times of just 10 years back. We wouldn't even talked about the goals attribute for a DM, right? Why would DM have to score goals? Why has that become an expectation nowadays? Because they want them to be adaptable, versatile as well, combine at different places, make patterns of play, ensure that you be in the right position at the right time. These things are expected more in the modern day football, because the managers want the opposition to be a bit more confused with those patterns of play. I think that's the reason. That's the whole point, where people are looking for not just a striker who's very physical, and has that dominating presence up top. They're looking for people who has that attribute along with being versatile and intelligence. And I think that's a fair expectation given the growth of football. Um, yeah, Eric Blue and Dickler apparently are complimenting themselves that they've been on a lot of streams today. I think they are, a couple of regulars who you can find in most of the channels, right from Carefree Lewis, Gems, GNA TV, and Chelsea Perspective, of course, Blue Lounge, and here at Sportswire. um, with a miss as well, the other side of the coin. So yeah, big up to you both, and also the Australian channel, IFT Pod and Zibo Genius. A lot of people you could see always declared and Eric Blue being part of those channels. Thank you for your support for these YouTube content creators. It really helps the growth of the channel, of course, and growth of us as an individual. And we learn a lot from people like Declared and Eric Blue, because these guys have been in multiple streams and they gather a lot of information. They come up with these different set of intelligent perspectives, and that will not be probably known to me, because maybe I don't join those streams and hear to those topics. So um, end of the day, it's all talk, and you know as much as you talk, you have to listen. And I think these are excellent listeners, and when they talk, it's better that we listen. um, Varna says Pogba, if to join Chelsea, will be so restricted and won't be able to show his abilities. Yeah, I think he would still be able to show his abilities, but how much of that would be helpful for Thomas Tuchel? Not so sure. Um, Varna also says transfer wise, would love to see us signing Kounde, Rabiot. Oh, that's a good shout, Rabiot. Dembele, Neymar, and another CV plus Gallagher, Broja, and maybe Ampadu and Colville. Varna, I'm pretty sure if you're in the Indian time zone, I think you might have to take a nap. And in our dreams, we're going to be signing Neymar and Dembele in a single season. I'm not sure if you're going to be doing that otherwise. So maybe Kunde, yeah, I hear that. Dembele on a free, yeah, that can happen. Gallagher, I don't think so. We need to be signing, but then there's going to be a lot of contention in this coming market. So we need to look at retaining him. That's going to be a bit of a challenge, because we need to ensure providing him game time, which is not going to be that easy. Um, you know, Given the first team players that we currently hold. Broja, of course, is another player that we should be attempting to reach. Retain and not sell him on a loan, or not sell him or put him on a loan. Ampadu or Colville. Colville is a very good shout, but I haven't seen him play a lot. But then a few matches, of course, in the championship wherever I get a chance, he has been doing a great job, and I think he's the player of the season for the championship. Um, a very good prospective challenge. So Colville, absolutely a good shout. Ampadu, not so sure. Not so sure in terms of him, should he be in the Chelsea squad or anything. I've been following him, but not sure right now should he be in the squad. Eric Blue says declared or is on Lewis's streams a lot more than me. Yeah, yeah, true. And he is a speaker there as well. Too kind, Vijay. Nobody. You do deserve it. I love Lewis, but I hate his gooners, buddies, and neighbors. Yeah, but that makes it interesting, doesn't it? Like you have people like expressions, and other the Arsenal people that you can talk to and sometimes banter, and that makes it more interesting, because here you hear all that you hear is me ranting about Chelsea, and maybe along with you guys we talk just Chelsea, but sometimes it's good to hear from the other teams what they think about Chelsea, and sometimes the banter is also good, because we get to equally banter them about uh, their club as well, which has always been entertaining with Arsenal, of course, because the only thing that they were able to win the last season was an Amazon documentary. I'm pretty sure that was successful. Um, but nothing much from for Arsenal this season also. Uh, but on the other hand, there is another North London club which has been moving very decently in this transfer window. Of course, they've got Perisic, Tottenham, Hotspur, then, another London club which has never won a trophy, of course, that I remember. But Tottenham have this is something that I'm reading from Fabrizio Romano, who says Tottenham have officially confirmed the departure of Italian goalkeeper Golini following conclusion of his loan spell from Atlanta. Fraser Foster will be announced by Spurs as new backup goalkeeper on a 2-year deal. It's already a done deal. So they're getting a new goalkeeper, Tottenham, Fraser Foster. People have been asking me, who would you prefer for a second goalkeeper if Kepa leaves this window? I would probably go for someone like Sam Johnston, who has been playing in the championship, of course, and he's been good. I think there was a couple of appearances from him in the England team as well. I really like the way that he plays and the way that he carries himself, the confidence as well. So he wouldn't be a bad choice for me as a second choice goalkeeper to Mendy. All thanks to the passion merchant Conte. Yeah, yeah. See, the problem with Conte is that it's like, okay, I shouldn't be saying that, but let me put it this way, right? Um, it's it's like sex. Yeah, it's good when it lasts, and then it's done, and and it's like a breakup, and that breakup is very difficult to deal with. That's how usually Conte leaves the team that he's worked for. It's a mess, and you have to recalibrate your entire squad accordingly, which is becoming a bit of a challenge. I think that is something that Tottenham need to be going through as well in the future. How much or how many years can't they stay with Tottenham is another question that needs to be answered, because you know how difficult Conte can be when he doesn't get what he wants, and you know how difficult even Levy from Tottenham can be in terms of giving money to sign players and all that. Eric Blue says Spurs may actually win a trophy next season. Hopefully not the. Uh, no, that's not happening. That's not happening. Varna says Kane or Son will leave after a full season with Conte. Yeah. In this overlap podcast that I was listening to with I think it was um, yeah, the regulars, Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, and people like um, AFTV, Robbie, and all of these guys, Ty, and all that. I think when they were talking about Tottenham, interesting point. They were bringing up Conte, and Gallagher was mentioning, or no, it was Gary Neville who was mentioning about the military drill kind of training that usually Conte provides to his players. It's just drills. It's just drills day in and day out, and it's not a sustainable practice. It's not a sustainable way for the players to live their life, and it doesn't help in terms of the longevity. And that's the reason why the players will not be able to continue after a season or two, and that's when they become mentally tired and sometimes grow unfit as well. And that is when someone like Conte wants either a new player to replace them, or a new team or a new challenge to go for, because he has absolutely gotten everything that you could probably ask from those set of players, and now he's up for the new challenge. Not every time a new entire team can be replenished, and and can be supported for Kante. That's where I think a bit of a constraint comes in, and it has happened with the same Chelsea, Inter Milan, and a lot of other clubs as well. But yes, of course, I wasn't expecting that analogy. Yeah, I think that's the reason why I took a pause, because I'm not sure. I was not sure if I wanted to actually say that, but yeah, I was not able to find another analogy, to be honest with you. So I had to go with that. Anyways, moving to the final topic of the day. This was interesting. Roman Abramovich apparently has filed a lawsuit on EU for, I think it's more of a defamation as well, not just a lawsuit for the financial losses, but also a defamation. And that's interesting, because you could say that he was waiting all along to complete this Chelsea transfer saga, or transfer of ownership saga, so that he can just go ahead and file in this. Because imagine if he had done that a couple of days earlier, before this change of ownership went through. It would have been a blitzkrieg, and we would have never got a new owner, and probably we would have been playing in a championship right now. Though that might be a lot pessimistic coming from me. There was a good possibility that might happen. So I think even at the time of leaving Chelsea, Roman has done possibly what he could do the best, and left Chelsea the way he wanted it, you know, to be known to world football. So kudos to Roman. I think I'm probably going to be um, so 30th May 2022. This is very special for a day for a lot of Chelsea fans because we are getting taken over by a new owner. But 30th of May is another special day for me as well. It's my birthday. That's when the Chelsea takeover has happened. So going forward, I'll remember my birthday for two reasons. Of course, the one is my birthday, so I have to remember that. The second one is for the Chelsea takeover. Happened on the same day, Todd Bowley. I hope Todd Bowley makes it a memorable day. Over a period of 10, 15 years, if I have to look back, I should look back to this particular time and think, you know what? That was my birthday when Chelsea took over happened. Chelsea takeover happened. And that day is when all the success stories had started. I should be in a position to do that. I should be in a position to say that, and I really wish I would be able to say that. So it's the start of a new era. I'm excited about it. A lot of transfer news coming in, left, right, and center. I think we should be on the lookout for the transfer news. And we will be having this stream daily for 1 hour. It's on the top of my time now. It's 1 hour and 1 minute. So we're going to be coming towards the end of the stream right now. But yeah, it's going to be just a strictly 1 hour show so that you guys can fix your timing as well accordingly. 1 hour, a daily show. Just the Chelsea topics, sometimes a bit of Manchester United and Arsenal banters, but yeah, predominantly Chelsea. Belated wishing you happy birthday. Thanks for the wishes, guys. MCIG declared, and oh, big up June birthdays. I'm pretty sure declared has somewhere his birthday there. Declared, please make sure that you let us know your birthday so that we can at least try and wish you, um, you know, while it hits 12. So having said that, I think it's time to end the show. It was absolutely a pleasure talking to you guys for the whole 1 hour. A lot of topics, Chelsea board structure review, transfer plan, and a lot of players as well. Called out by Varna, MCIG, Eric Blue, Tobago, and a few others as well. First of all, thank you so much for joining in and having your say in the channel. Absolutely a pleasure to have every one of you guys supporting the channel. Tomorrow we'll again continue this conversation with a lot more probably transfer news. And until that, this is VJ signing off. You guys have a brilliant uh, day.